Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. It is Baltimore positive. It's still kind of the bye week, although the bye week is over for the most part. It's World Series week around here, if you're counting. And it's also crab cake season. I spent Sunday evening at Costas in Timonium just to make sure I was checking the place out after rocking at the races. We'll be there on Wednesday afternoon doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour, courtesy of the Maryland Lottery. I have a lucky batch, much luck. It's luckier than it looks on the field. I'll tell you that right now, the Maryland Lottery scratch offs. We're also going to be doing the show at Coco's in 2 weeks. We are at Pizza John's in 2 weeks as well, and we're getting the show back out on the road to Fadley's, and we will be at State Fair next Tuesday morning for breakfast. So we're moving the show around, getting a lot of guests. This guy here, he's it's been a week since I've talked to you. Do we go a week in a year ever without talking? It's very unusual that we don't talk for a while. But Luke is been off reading about the purple birds. Actually, probably been watching Shohei Ohtani like all the rest of us here and getting ready. All I cared about, Luke, was that they practiced last week. They took a couple of days off. Harbaugh got his feelings hurt by my Dear John Harbaugh letter, and that's fine. He thinks I hate him, and I'm holding him accountable. I just was making sure nobody got arrested over the weekend, because that would be the next bad thing that could happen to them at 1-5 is take a weekend away. The next worst thing could happen, which everybody's texting me saying, Lamar's playing this week, right? Like they got 2 games in 4 days. Lamar's going to play, right? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't believe whatever they say. I've written that. There'll be a press conference by Wednesday of the week, and we'll find out. But what do you think? Is Lamar going to play? You covered the team, Luke.
I think so, but until we actually see him out on the practice field, and we're at the point now where you don't have to speculate about whether he's on the field or not, and whether that means he needs to practice at this point, right? We're far enough removed from the Kansas City game where he's not going to sit out the whole week and then run through the tunnel on Sunday and be ready to play, right? We'll get an indication. They're back on the practice field Monday. The first injury report is Wednesday, so we'll have an idea where this is trending. Now, he could be listed as limited. There could still be some ambiguity, some uncertainty with his status. But, I mean, the expectation, the earliest reporting that was done on it, and look, I mean, it's a hamstring. It's tricky, right? I mean, Jaden Daniels with the Commanders now, that there's going to be all kinds of talk about his hamstring now after he got hurt in the Dallas game on
Well, if you
Sunday.
get re-hurt, you're on watch.
Well,
right?
But that's why the Ravens needed to be as careful and cautious as they were leading into the bye. As much as 1-5 hurts, as despondent, as terrible as it feels, 1-5 and Lamar having a setback against the Rams and he's out another month, then we're talking about, okay, who's going to get fired? What's their draft pick going to be? All of that, right? If Lamar comes out of the tunnel Sunday at 1:00 and he's healthy and he's playing against the Chicago Bears, and they win, and I saw the early line. Vegas clearly thinks he's going to play. I saw the Ravens 6.5 point favorite over the Bears, right? I mean, which
it looked like a 1-5 team.
Well, I mean, they look like a 1-5 team the last couple of weeks. Most teams look bad without their star quarterback. So
we're still buying who they are at halftime against Buffalo. If you're buying that they're a 6.5 point favorite this week, you're buying that they're going to be a very good team once they get healthy. Yeah. And wherever that is, whatever that belief is, that belief still sits in Las Vegas and on everyone's apps. By the way, John Martin came on last week, and I'll give you this. He gave me all the numbers, and I don't even understand all the whole that, like, I understand it, but I don't. But the way he explained it is the state of Maryland, the numbers were enormous in September just for wagering, but the amount of money the bettors lost and the house got to hold was extraordinary in September. And the reason for that is everybody bet on the Ravens and on the Commanders in this state and lost bets. So just as a little aside, I know you're not the betting guy and I'm not the betting guy, but it would tell you that consumer confidence on the Ravens and on Lamar and on my prediction that they're going to be 7-7, that they're going to go 6-2 the next 8 weeks, which is what I've said publicly I think that they're capable of doing. Vegas thinks they're going to do it, right? If you think that they're going to be a touchdown favorite at home against a team that's got a much better record at this time of the season, the belief is 1-5 is not dirt on their coffin. 1-5 is just setting them back to the point where they're going to be 10-7 instead of 12-5.
I mean, they still have that path. They still have that path. That belief is there. The perception is there. Look, do I think the Ravens are better than a 1-5 team? Of course I do. If we're talking about when they're at full strength, even at whatever
I've
full
seen
strength
bad
is
teams
now,
play. If you're going to compare them to the Jets, you're going to compare them to the Raiders. You're going to and the Jets won. So like some of these teams, the Browns have won games.
Didn't win.
So
Jets are 0-7.
No, excuse me, not the Jets. The Browns have won.
Yeah, right.
Dolphins have won. I'm trying to think of the teams that have won, that have one win, that are terrible.
The Titans have one win.
Titans, and they're terrible. But they're terrible when they don't have Roquan Smith, Marlon Hubbs, Kyle Hamilton, the quarterback, the tight end. Run through the players that they don't. Ronnie Stanley, let's not forget him.
Right.
But they might be a 1-5 team. Not might be. They are. If Cooper Rush is their quarterback, if Cooper Rush and Tyler Huntley are their quarterbacks, they are the Jets. They are the Dolphins. They are the Browns. They are what they are. With Lamar, they're 6-2, and they're a different thing. So I'll hear that from the gambling perspective. The reason they're 1-5 is Lamar hasn't played the last 2 weeks, because he played, they'd be 3-3, or like that would be the thought, right?
I think so. I think so. I mean, look,
Lamar's worth 10 points on the line. I guess
he's worth a lot. He absolutely is worth a lot. I mean, and some of that is also not a great belief in the Bears. Like, look, I think the Bears are improved from where they've been. I think the Bears, certainly this is not a game. I'm not going to sit here and say the Ravens just roll the ball out, and if Lamar runs through the tunnel, then all is well. They were on their way. They were 1-3 with Lamar, right? I mean, and this is where the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Do I think the Ravens are truly better than a 1-5 team? Yes, I do. Do I think all their issues are cured once Lamar runs out of the tunnel, once Roquan Smith is back? No. We saw issues the first few weeks of the season, even before these injuries started to pile up. So the reality of it is, even if they are better than 1-5, and I think most people believe that, you can't wipe out those 6 games. That 1-5 is going to be part of their record. They're going to carry that the rest of the way. And that's why, as I wrote in the aftermath of that Rams loss, that the math really starts to count against you the rest of the way. We talked about this.
Tony Manzolino, right? He had above 500 record with the Orioles. He could say, we were decent when I was here. Yeah, except you were 20 games under 500 before you started.
Oh, and we talked about that when they were 16-34, right? I mean, at that point in time, that's a pace to lose 110 games. I know we can go back and find our conversation from Memorial Day where I would say, Nestor, I don't really think the Orioles are truly a 110 loss outfit.
But you thought they were going to hit the ball, and they never hit the ball.
But they certainly have underperformed, and they've underperformed to such an extreme that it's ruined their season. And the Orioles never went on a run that ever made you think that they were truly going to get off the mat to the degree that they were going to have a chance to win a wild card, right? They had that.
Well, they were going to have to play 800 baseball for a month, and the Ravens are going to have to play 800 baseball for a month right now, right?
And that's where you look at it and you say, okay, when you're 1-5, look at the math. Since the league pivoted to a 17-game schedule, the format of 3 wild cards, the benchmark is 10-7. Mike McDonald and the Seahawks last year, the only team to go 10-7 in this era with this format and not make the playoffs. So 10-7 is the mark that you're looking for, right? I mean, that's not to say that it's impossible if you're 9-8, if all these teams in the AFC end up not being that good. And look, one of the funniest, and this was just a random person on social media, a random fan on Twitter on Sunday afternoon, made the comment that, well, I think 16 teams in the league are bad, and there are 16 teams that have a chance to be good. And it's not quite that extreme, but there is a whole lot of, okay, who's really, really good? But I think there's a very distinct line as far as who's really, really bad. And what's scary for the Ravens is I don't think the Ravens are truly a really, really bad team in terms of the eyeball test, in terms of when they get their guys back. But their record says they are. So that's a heck of a hill they have to climb here. 9 of 11. which is what they need to do to be 10-7. When I look at the state of their defensive line, when I look at the state of their offensive line, for me, and I wrote this at BaltimorePositive.com, obviously we all know Lamar being healthy and upright is number one, and he's number one by a wide margin in terms of what this team needs to
By
make
10
a run.
points on the line.
Yeah, but so with that thought in mind, acknowledging that, for me, for all their issues, when we talk about pass rush, short yardage situations, red zone, offensive line, like all these different things, I go back to their offensive line needing to find a higher level of consistency and a higher level of play. However that's done internally, whether that means Eric DeCosta makes a trade of some sort, I mean, I'll throw one name out there just as an example. This isn't reporting. It's just common sense looking. Kevin Zeitler playing for the Tennessee Titans. Is Kevin Zeitler the guy he was 4 years ago? No, but seems to still be playing at a pretty high level.
I see a lot of ex-players places. I saw Calais Campbell running around with the Arizona Cardinals. I think he looked better in purple.
But Kevin Zeitler is a guy who's playing on an absolutely dreadful football team, can probably be had for very, very little. And
7th round pick.
Probably, I mean, maybe not a 7th round pick, but you're not talking a lot, right? I mean, you're talking about a guard in his mid-30s, right? I mean, on a 1-year deal. So can they make a move like that? And I'm just using Zeitler as an example because he's familiar to people. I could probably go through the league and name 5 other guys that people have never heard of, right? So, but my point with that is if Lamar is the most important and you need to keep him healthy and you've had issues with your offensive line, I mean, Lamar has already been sacked, I think, 15 times in 4 games. That's only 8. He's only been sacked 8 fewer times than he was sacked all of last year, right? I mean, that's jarring when you hear that. And okay, I get it. It's Lamar Jackson. Does he occasionally hold the ball a little bit longer than he should? No question about it. He also holds the ball longer than he should in other instances where he makes incredible plays, right? It's part of the secret sauce for Lamar Jackson.
Well, the secret sauce is you don't want him to give up on a play.
Exactly. And he's not going to. I mean, T. Martin even said that, the quarterback's coach, speaking over the bye week. He was kind of asked about that. So,
well, where you see other guys like Flacco just throws the ball away. Guys that are going to get hit,
right.
Stafford, when they just get rid of the ball.
And let me be clear. Is there a time and a place when Lamar needs to do that a little more often? I think so, right? I mean, we've talked about this even.
Well, as he gets older, he's going to get caught more quickly than he used to.
But even just instances where you just say, "Hey, it's okay to throw the ball away on first down if it's not there." I mean, the Kansas City game was a perfect example of that. He threw that interception. They were on the move on their second drive. They had scored on their opening drive. Things were going well, and he's pressured on first down. It wasn't his fault. Just throw the ball out of bounds. Instead, he tries to force it to Mark Andrews. Chenal, I think it was Leo Chenal made the play, and that game completely flips from that point on. That's just one example. But we also know Lamar makes these incredible plays where he does hold the ball and hold the ball and hold the ball and scramble and look downfield, right? Or take off, right? I mean, we've seen him. So you don't want to coach that out of him, but that's why you need some better offensive line play. Look, I don't think the Ravens, by any stretch of the imagination, need to have the best offensive line in the NFL for Lamar Jackson to play at an MVP level, right? But I know Ben Baldwin, who's an NFL analyst, he's put together, and he's done this for a few years now, he's put together a composite of different offensive line ratings that you'll find from Pro Football Focus, Sports Info Solutions. ESPN has metrics, and there's always subjectivity in these. So that's why I think it's helpful to have a composite of it. But through 6 weeks, his composite rankings that he has that kind of accounts all those different measurements. The Ravens, 28th in the NFL in terms of pass protection. Last year, they were 13th. Respectable. Not elite, but respectable. Year before that, they were 8th. So it tells you where their offensive line is this year in the here and
Zeitler
now.
was a part of that one 2 years ago.
Zeitler was part of it 2 years ago, no question. I mean,
and the emerging Ronnie Stanley and the young, tough Linderbaum. Rosengarten wasn't here yet, but yeah. That line also had Moses.
2 years ago had Morgan Moses. Yep.
Morgan Moses, right?
Yeah. So it really speaks to, and we've talked about this. I mean, the regression has been there across the board. I don't think Tyler Linderbaum's been as good as the Tyler Linderbaum we saw the last couple years in terms of pass protection. We've talked about Stanley's health. Certainly the
That's
guards.
tough with a center with two bad guards.
Oh, no question. And I
That's
think that
really tough.
no question. I think that's the biggest factor. But my point is, you kind of see across the board, no one on that offensive line, what I say, has played better this year than he played last year. I don't think anyone's played as well this year.
Dude, I don't
as
know if
they played
anybody on the
last year.
team's played better this year
Sure,
than they played last year.
I think that's. I mean,
I don't know that I got a guy. I don't know that I have a name to give you right now.
I mean, I would have said
I've been a better fan this year.
I would have said maybe Nate Wiggins, but Nate Wiggins the last couple weeks hadn't been as good. Jordan Stout's probably punted better this year than the last couple years. No, but that's what you kind of go through the list and you kind of say, who has it been? And again, this goes back to our main point here of, do I think they're, from a true talent level standpoint, from a week 8 and onward standpoint, are they better than 1-5? I absolutely believe that. That doesn't mean that they don't have their issues though. And when you're talking about needing to win 9 of 11 to get to 10-7, is their offensive line going to find a level of consistency that's good enough to go on that kind of run? Are they going to be able to find enough on their defensive front where their pass rush has been non-existent? Not just their pass rush, but they haven't stopped the run particularly well. I mean, one of the silver linings from that Rams game was they did stop the run at a higher level, right? The defense made some progress in that game. It wasn't perfect, and I think the Rams actually were sloppy in that game, and that helped them out a little bit at a couple points, certainly with some drops, and Stafford missed a couple throws, but there was at least an argument to be made that they took a step in the right direction, right? We talked about Alohi Gilman and Hamilton playing in the box, all that. But my point is, this isn't suddenly a perfect football team once Lamar runs through the tunnel and Roquan Smith's back. And, you kind of look at where they very clearly have some flaws. If nothing else, you talk about Madubuike not coming back and what that means for their pass rush and their ability to stop the run and where they are in the trenches. But, on the flip side, is Ronnie Stanley going to stay healthy, right? I mean, we're talking about 3 straight games now where he's either, he sat out entirely against the Texans, and in the Kansas City game and the Rams game, he retired early because he couldn't go, right? His ankle was bothering him. Is the bye week going to remedy that? Or is this more of a chronic long-term thing with his ankle, right? I mean,
they were lucky to get a bye week this early, given where they are. Where they are, that this bye week wasn't November 30th. That
no question.
That if they get their ship righted, and by next Friday, you and I are talking about them being 3-5, and they've bounced back, and they haven't been in jeopardy against these teams, and they beat the Bears 31-14, and I won't be shocked by that, but that's better. No. That better be where they are.
Well, it has to
be. They better not be losing to the Miami Dolphins next Thursday night. And I don't know if even the coach is still going to be the coach by the time they get there, based on getting their ass kicked by the Browns. He might not be the coach by the time they hear this.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say, and we'll get to the Bears here in a moment, but just since you brought it up, I don't know who their coach is going to be at that point because, I mean, that's a disaster. You talk about crashing and burning. We kind of forget about this, but the Dolphins, and look, at their best with Mike McDaniel, I think we all thought at their best they still were a bit of a paper tiger, right? I mean, they beat up on bad teams, but hey, the record was what it was. But think back to week 17 2 years ago, the penultimate game of the regular season. Miami came in. The number 1 seed was on the line in that game between the Ravens and the Dolphins. And now the Ravens handled them, ended up boat racing them as the game went on. But it really speaks to how this league changes. I mean, the Dolphins especially, but the Ravens are 1-5, right? So, but to your point, yeah, it's a non-starter for me if you don't win these 2 games, right? I mean,
you lose both of them, you're 1-7. The season's over, right? Well, if you lose to the Bears, this week is the most important game they've played in the history of the franchise for me. Win. Because 4 days rest and going to Miami's never good. Lamar going to Miami, I don't know. I mean, that always worries me on 3 days. Lamar's health worries me. Let's start with that. We just did 15 minutes on that. How Lamar is on Sunday, how Lamar is the middle of this week. If he's not out there by Wednesday running around looking the way you need him to look.
Oh, no question. Well, and you said it. I mean, the bye week for that reason alone. I mean, forget about any of their other injuries. When Lamar Jackson's dealing with a hamstring, yeah. I mean, your bye week coming at this point in time was perfect. I mean, it would have been nice if it came 2 weeks earlier, I suppose. I mean, maybe he only misses one game as opposed to two, depending on the timing. But until he's out there, but no, and you know me, I really don't like being a prisoner of the moment. I don't like how overused the term must win is. I mean, this Bears game's a must win. You can't fall to 1-6. I mean, you just can't. At that point, you're asking to to win 9 of your last 10, right?
I don't know if you know,
mean,
but Joseph Vincent Flacco has shown up in Cincinnati now,
oh,
and he's got receivers. And, I mean, for Flacco, it's like the dream thing because he's been on these stiff teams for a decade. Maybe he had a chance with Denver the first time around, but he's been on all these stiff teams. Now they've given him a team with receivers like Cleveland was 2 years ago. Cleveland had receivers 2 years ago, and some protection for him, and maybe even some semblance of a running game. I don't think the Bengals are good. I think Joe Flacco's dangerous 2 times against the Bengals throwing to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's what I think.
And I think the big key for that is obviously they have to protect him. They did a good enough job of protecting him, and he got the ball out quickly, right? But it was funny watching that Thursday night game, which, by the way, as much as you've heard me hate and hate and hate on Thursday night.
I didn't think you had an
years.
Amazon subscription. I just thought for sure you didn't.
Thursday night.
I didn't
football,
think they got the games in Pennsylvania. I didn't know.
Right. Thursday night football has been good. Like we've had some really good Thursday night games. I mean, there's no question. But I did have to laugh in seeing how much talk, even from non-Ravens fans, like just national NFL analysts on social media, were all talking about Joe Flacco doing the Ravens a favor, yada, yada, yada. And I kept saying, well, first of all, like, can the Ravens win a football game before we start getting ahead of ourselves? Like, can they win a game? But my thought was, by the way, you're going to have to face Joe Flacco 2 more times. And if your pass rush is as punchless as it's been, he
might embarrass you.
He might carve you up in the same way that he did against the Steelers. Now, I think that game Thursday night is also very much an indictment on PU on that Steelers defense. And I've seen that team play a few times now. That is not a good defense. I actually think I thought Rodgers played really well. I mean, as weird as like those 2 picks were, the one was a fantastic defensive play, but both those quarterbacks, the 2 graybeards, the 2 40-somethings, us guys at our 40s, I mean, they're showing that, we can still do a little something, right?
Well, Aaron Rodgers will look a lot better with Jerome Bettis in his backfield and Hines Ward on his edge, right? And the same thing could be said for Flacco.
Got to protect those guys.
He's got wide receivers that are going to win every battle, every play. He's got 2 guys that the Ravens would have a hard time marking. And if he can figure out how to get them the ball 16, 20 times a game by trying to throw the ball 50 times, he might be worth 28 points to the Bengals. Just in a general sense, he might be worth 4 touchdowns.
You got to get after him. You have to pressure him. Joe can, at this stage of his career, we saw it in week 2, right? The Ravens, it's not as though they didn't sack him 8 times or 9 times, but if you make him have to move his feet, he is very below average at this point in his career. But if not, and he's confident what he's doing, and you're keeping the pocket clean enough, long enough that he can get the ball out,
I think he's even more than that, dude. Give him a running game.
Well,
put him in 2nd and 3 and 2nd and 4. He can be dangerous. If he's in 2nd and 16 and he's getting sacked and they're in 3rd and 12, right, then they're done. I mean, and that's what Joe's been the last 7-8 years. That's been the offense he's had, which is very reminiscent of the Ravens mess here in 15, 16, and 17, which is no skill position, nobody to protect him. He's dead in the water. I think he's a smarter quarterback than he's been. It's amazing to wake up on a Friday morning and see him lauded and have people talking Hall of Fame with him just because he's hung around a long time. I mean, he ain't going to the Hall of Fame, but he might go to the Hall of winning 4 out of the next 6 games for the Bengals.
I mean, at the very least, and look, I think it's important not to get caught up in what happens in the Thursday night game in the division, generally speaking, not between the Bengals and the Steelers, just in a general sense. He makes them wildly more interesting than they were with Browning as their backup, right? I mean, with Browning as their backup, those 3 games after Burrow's injury, they look like they could be the worst team in the NFL. That's how bad they looked. So they become more interesting. Certainly, we've already seen it with the Steelers and Tomlin, his disenchantment with the Browns trading him, and now, hey, that Thanksgiving night game becomes that much more interesting. The game in Cincinnati becomes that much more
What
interesting.
did you make of the Browns trading him? I didn't think anything of it.
I mean, I didn't think that much of it because you heard me say this. I mean, when I was watching Joe Flacco play the Ravens in week 2, I kept saying to myself, Joe, go home. I mean, like, what are you doing? And not so much, but not even so much how he looked, just how bad the Browns looked collectively. And it's just like, you don't need this. I mean, like, this can't be fun. But hey, he goes to Cincinnati and we'll see. And I think it's also important to point out last year he played in Indy, right? And he filled it. He had a big game for the Colts at one point and then got benched not long after that, right? So,
well, it's easy to bench a 41-year-old quarterback,
right, exactly. So we're going to see, but he makes him way more interesting. And look, I don't think the Bengals are great. I don't think the Bengals are going to win the division or anything like that, but they're certainly way more interesting now with him at quarterback. And
he was as interesting as the Chargers uniforms were on Sunday.
Gosh, it looked like Big Bird. I mean, Savannah Bananas, Big Bird, whatever you wanted to use. But no, I mean, just to bring it back to the Ravens. Look, you look around this league, look around the AFC specifically, and just stick to that. Right now, it's fun. I mean, Indianapolis, give them credit. They still haven't really played like a team that I view as a juggernaut per se. We just mentioned the Chargers. I mean, the Chargers have lost 3 of their last 4. The Chargers feel, as much as in late September, it felt like, oh, maybe this is their breakthrough year. They've really come back to.
Well, they can't protect their quarterback either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so you have Indy, New England. I mean, give them credit. They beat the Bills a couple weeks ago, right? I mean, but are they ready to become elite? Denver has the miraculous comeback on Sunday. We've already talked about Pittsburgh. Buffalo's 4-2, but has this looked like the best version of the Bills of the last few years? Not really.
I'm okay with a team that nobody's going to win 15 games. I mean, I'm okay with everybody being 11-6 and 12-5 and 10-7. Well, because there is Kansas City might be the best team. Buffalo on a day might be I can't talk about the Ravens at 1-5 even in that.
They got to win a game. Win it.
But the Chargers and the Bengals and the Steelers and all the rest of these teams that are flawed, the Patriots, flawed teams in different ways, it'll make for a more interesting tournament.
No question.
If the Ravens can get there. Right?
No question.
Like if John can coach them up and get them to 10 wins, which, I think they'll be 7-7. I think they will win 6 of their next 8 games. I believe in their pedigree. I believe in John's tough guy coach, and I believe all these tough guys will get back. I believe there's a lot of want. I don't necessarily believe some of these guys are winners by their nature, or certainly don't behave like winners when they run out the back door, like spoiled children. Zay Flowers last week, Mark Andrews. When I see that about players, I know you think I'm a jerk, and that's okay. The audience I've been doing this my whole life. I've been doing this since I was 15 years old, looking in the eyes of men, of grown ass men, being a 5'9" little, whippoorwiller that I am in front of all these big men. And I've seen guys that look like winners and guys that don't. And I've seen guys hide, and I've seen guys make excuses, and I've seen all that. I haven't seen anything winning from this Ravens bunch. I haven't seen them win. I haven't seen them do what's necessary to win. And that includes Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Stanley, just down the line of all the people that have been here, that are here, who were not a part of winning a Super Bowl, where Joe Flacco did and Justin Tucker did. He'll be back in the league in 2 weeks too. So I need to look in the whites of the eyes of these guys and say, are you champion? You got to win a championship, you guys? Because when DaCosta drafted these guys and Harbaugh brings these guys in, 1-5 right now is the ultimate Purple Rain 3 script being written, right? They're 1-5. If they're a champion at the end of this, if they're standing in Santa Clara, where I was watching football on Monday or Sunday night, if they're standing in Santa Clara in February and they're on the field as the AFC team after being 1-5, I will tip my cap, because you have done yeoman's work. That's all I can say. And half of the games left are against Flacco and Aaron Rodgers, if they make it. I mean, they're 41-year-old quarterbacks and get their legs broken too. But in a general sense, the division is sitting there for them. If they're going to be a playoff team, At least 3-1, if not 4-0 against the Steelers and the Bengals, let alone beating up on the Bears and the Dolphins and the Vikings with whoever Carson Wentz is their quarterback, whatever that is. Maybe Wentz. So they better win the next three. I mean, we better be sitting here talking about them at 4-5. And if they drop another one accidentally or something bad happens, but this Pittsburgh Cincinnati thing's real for them this year based on the schedule, that there are going to be some big football games around here in December if they can figure out how to win a couple in November.
Yeah, I mean, no question. I mean, they've got to go win football games. Look, it's easy to come out of the bye week, especially with the assumption that you're going to be healthier. You know, we're assuming right now, again, we'll reconvene later.
What are you assuming this week for the game? It's early in the week. We're assuming Lamar plays. We're assuming Roquan. Probably not, right?
I don't know about probably not. I mean, late. Now, we didn't see them. There wasn't any media access to any of their practice. They practiced a couple times during the bye week. He was at the point where he was starting to do a little bit of off to the side field work, with the trainer. Going into that Rams game, I think it was that Thursday or Friday, we saw him. That's generally a good sign that you're trending towards getting back on the practice field in the next week or two. So, but I think there's some uncertainty there. But, I think the expectation is Lamar is going to be out there. But for all this talk, and it's easy to come out of the bye week, not easy. It's manageable. Like you have a lot of time to sit around and think. You have a lot of time to look at the rest of the league. And as we said, and by the way, I'm in agreement with you. I think Kansas City's the best team in the AFC, regardless of the fact that they're 4-3. You look at how they've played the last few weeks. This might be the best their offense has looked since they had Tyreek Hill. I mean, it's
and they might only need to win 12 games to be the 1 seed.
I mean, who knows?
Like right? Literally, right? Like nobody's gonna have to win 15 to be the 1 seed. Like nobody's going to win 15. So like the notion that if they're the 1 seed, you got to come to Papa in Kansas City and play them in January, and I'm not even thinking for the Ravens. I'm thinking for anybody else, whoever it is.
But 2 years ago, they've already proven they don't need that either, right? I mean, they won in Baltimore, right? I mean, they went into Buffalo and won.
Well, who's going to be the 1 seed? Buffalo or Kansas City, right?
Well, Indianapolis is 6-1. I mean, at some point,
wow, that would be something, wouldn't it?
No, it would be. But look,
I don't think anybody's afraid to go in there and play.
No, to me, it would be kind of like, remember what year was it? Was it 20 when it was one of these years where Tennessee was the number 1 seed in the last 5 or 6 years, and you kind of looked at that and said, "Oh, I don't buy that," right? Like, but if your record allows you to be that, then that's what you are, right?
Was that with Ryan Tannehill?
Yeah, I might be not remembering that exactly right, but my point is, yeah, 2021, Tennessee was the number 1 seed. I'm looking at.
21. So. Nobody went to the games. That's why I don't know.
No, 21, everyone was back. 20 was the year you're thinking. Anyway, the point is, we have seen it happen in the past where the number 1 seed isn't necessarily perceived as being the best team in that conference. But the point. What we're looking at is, I think you have a league where you're still trying to figure out who the truly great teams are. I mean,
you're trying to get me to take the Colts seriously right now.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and state an argument that I think that they're definitively the best or anything like that. But at some point in time, like 6-1 is 6-1.
The Ravens should be so lucky as to go 10-7 and have to go to Indianapolis and play a playoff game.
Sure,
that would. I want to be here the second week of January talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they've gone through and won against a bunch of juggernauts, but they've also won a lot of these games very convincingly. I mean, they went on the road against the Chargers and won by 2 touchdowns, right? I mean, I get it. They blew out the Raiders. They blew out the Titans, right? They blew out the Dolphins. I get that, but we've talked a lot in this town in recent years about the Ravens when they get on this roll and they start boat racing team after team. At some point in time, you do take notice because generally speaking, in this league, you don't see a ton of blowouts. Although the early slate of games on Sunday, you saw quite a bit of lopsided football. But for me, we can keep talking about all these scenarios and what the Ravens' path is. Go win a football game on Sunday. They haven't won a game in over a month. Go win. Go beat the Chicago Bears, who are improved, but I'm not sitting here. I watched a good chunk of that Bears game on Sunday. Are they better than they've been in recent years? I mean, it's the Bears, right? It's a really low bar. Do I think they're a juggernaut that's going to come in here and handle the Ravens if the Ravens play any semblance of good football? No, I think the Ravens should win if Lamar Jackson is on the field. But you know what? We've been saying that all year, and they're 1-5, right? I mean, at some point, you need to just win football games. I mean, keep trying to project out, 9 of 11, and well, this team isn't that good, and that team isn't. No, win some football games. Earn the right to be put back into that conversation. I mean, that was one thing that was kind of interesting to me is after that Rams loss, it really felt like the national attention on the Ravens. You're still hearing them mentioned in passing, but typically you're just here. I heard a couple references over the weekend where someone mentions, oh, well, Baltimore is just a disaster at 1-5 right now, but everyone kind of stopped talking about them. I mean, you're 1-5, right? I mean, they're in last place. The Browns have a better record than them. Not that I think the Browns are truly better than the Ravens, but the Browns have a better record than them right now. You need to go win football games. It's that simple. And to your point, when you look at these next three, home against the Bears, at Miami, yes, I get it. It's a Thursday night, but Miami has been absolutely dreadful. They are terrible. You better go win. Like, period. You need to win these next two, non-negotiable. You lose one of these games and you're at 1-6. I mean, I can't. I mean, if you lose the next two, then 1-7, like it's over. Like, you stink. You're bad. You don't deserve to have anyone talking about you in terms of path to a playoff. But you need to win these next two because at some point in time, we can't keep ignoring your record, right? We can't keep ignoring reality. At some point, it's just, well, that's just who you are, right? I mean, that's just how we got to that point with the Orioles. Once it got into May, and it's just like, guys, this isn't being 4 or 5 games under at this point. You're 15 under. I mean, it's over. Like, you've completely buried yourselves, no matter how you play the rest of the way. I mean, they're already at a point where, you're kind of wondering, like you've said, they'll get to 7-7, but then you look at their last 3 games at that point. If they're 7-7, they need to win their last 3. And you're talking about home against New England, at Green Bay, at Pittsburgh. I would challenge that you might need to be better than 7-7 even if you really truly want to give yourself the best chance in those last 3 weeks to make it. So
let's start with Chicago, right? And Miami. And I think the weirdest part for fans, if you haven't looked at the schedule, there's 2 Thursday night games, Thanksgiving week as well.
Right.
They have 2 really crunchy, weird 4-day breaks, whereas if they're hurt that week, they're going to lose 2 games. If they're healthy that week, they could steal 2 games, right? In any circumstance, but they've already given the games away. All the rope is gone in the season for them. And, the blood's in the water for people like me to write John Harbaugh letters about why he should or shouldn't be fired, why 18 years into this hasn't worked, why Marlon Humphrey and Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers run out the back door, and, when they lose. And, like, just in a general sense, the scrutiny will be a lot worse than my column was last week if they're 2-8 2 weeks from now, and if they're losing games to the Dolphins and the Vikings and the Bears. I mean,
then you're just bad. I mean, then
I watched these teams play 1:00 on Sunday. They all played at the same time, and I'm thinking to myself, it's a real indictment because you lose to these teams, you're not a playoff team. And no matter how you're constructed, but with no rope, you're really not. I mean, you're really not a playoff team because you're stacking these losses up, and it's a dreadful time for the city as a sports fan. Like me doing this for 35 years with the Orioles and all the promise and the new owner who's a clown. And then this thing here and where we are with Lamar and how much money they've spent and where the appetite is for having lost big January games here the last 5 years. And the Orioles haven't scored a run in the playoffs in 12 years or whatever it's been. So like they haven't won anything. So I think from the fans' perspective to have something really go wrong this week or next Thursday, and they pick up the water that's going to kick them out of the boat early. If they pick up a seventh loss in October, it starts to sail the season away, and we start talking about draft picks and where they're going to be, and Eric DeCosta's job and John Harbaugh, because we'll talk about it, and you'll get fired at WJZ or BAL. They wouldn't let you on the air to do that. But the national people, the Stephen A. Smiths, will have the blood in the water for John Harbaugh, not Nasty Nestor. It will be a national story as to the Ravens imploding, and they're on watch. They're this close to it happening. And by the way, Tucker's going to come back and kick for the Giants or some godforsaken team 2 or 3 weeks from now, and that's going to bring that story back out, and it should be brought back out, like Rashee Rice was brought back out last week.
I mean, I'll disagree with. I mean, I'm not talking about the Tucker thing. Going back to your previous point, I think it's. See, I think it's the opposite. If you lose one of these games, like no one talks about you the rest of the year.
I mean, really?
Yeah, I think they're. I think.
I think when they're playing on Thursday night football and they're 3-9 on Thanksgiving, like against Joe Flacco in Baltimore, and the stadium's empty, like, dude, there'll be a lot of bad looks ahead here for old Stevie Boy in the stadium if they stink, because nobody's going to go to the games.
My point is, no one's talking about you on the Talking Head shows. You're just like, you're in that, you're just irrelevant then.
Get your ass beat by Joe Flacco on Thanksgiving night. People talk on Black Friday about you. I promise you. John Harbaugh will be getting fired in the media on Thanksgiving, on Black Friday, if they lose to Joe Flacco on Thursday night and they're 4-10 or some godforsaken whatever, because they're 1-5 now. They've got HORS. They're up against it.
I don't think the national media perceives John Harbaugh in the same way as he's perceived here. I think it's much more like, they've gotten off to a rough start. They're injured. Like, we'll have to see.
I always say he's the Harbaugh that doesn't cheat. So he has that going for him.
But, I guess my point is, I think they just, they lose one of these next 2 games and they're 1-6 or 2-6. I mean, I just think no one's talking about them anymore. I mean, like, they're talking about Buffalo. They're talking about Kansas City.
I think they like to talk about failed empires and coaches, and like,
I guess.
I think the talking heads will be talking about them. It won't be the lead story. The lead story will be Kansas City, whoever's winning, and then they go around the league. Old JB goes around the league, and Cowher says, "Oh, the Ravens are coaching." And
I guess I'm talking more about
all that talking head stuff will happen to John if they lose. It will.
Okay.
It'll happen to Lamar because he's Lamar.
Right. I mean, okay. I mean, I don't even know what this argument is.
The projection is, and we'll take a break. The projection is what happens if they lose, because they've never lost around here. We haven't had 16 games. The Orioles have been 16 games under 500 and made plenty, not when they're supposed to be good. This team here was supposed to be a Super Bowl contender, and if the wheels continue to fall off the cart the next 3 weeks, I just think that it'll be a louder story in the national media than you think when they're playing national television games, and as a also contender, as the biggest disappointment in the league this year, which is what they would be. And they already are the biggest disappointment in the league right now, 1-5. If I woke you up right now and brought you back at bye week, like my poor friend Eddie Lauer, I want to give some love, who had a heart attack a month ago. He's sitting up straight now and doing well. Love you, Ed. But Ed's been out for a month. Ed comes back and sees them 1-5. He's, what the hell happened? So if you just came into the movie here at 1-5 from opening day in Buffalo and say, what happened? You say, well, Lamar must have got hurt. Well, he did.
I mean, it definitely would be part of it. It's not all of it, but I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I just think I continue to see a much, much, much different perspective and perception of John Harbaugh from a national standpoint compared to how he's talked about in town. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I just think there's
however he's talked about in Baltimore, he's earned it. He's earned it.
No, but
18 years in. He's earned my criticism.
But my point is, he's won a heck of a lot, and he's a Super Bowl winning coach. And I think the Bill Cowhers of the league would say, you're going to fire John Harbaugh to do what? To hire who? That's going to be better than what he's been for 18 years. And he immediately becomes the number one name that's out there. I think you hear way more of that than.
Well, Steve will never fire him. I wrote that.
Oh, and probably, and I actually saw, I don't know if it was Florio or who it was. It might have been someone locally. I can't remember. He's under contract for what? 3 more
It's a
years.
$60 million decision.
In all honesty, based on what I just said, the move would probably be to trade him. I mean, in all seriousness, like if you felt like if attendance completely crashes, continues to crash, all of that, if the bottom completely falls out and you feel that you need a reset in that way, and maybe John feels, hey, maybe we have reached a time where it's time for a fresh start.
That's one way
The,
to get me to stop writing letters to him Monday morning. Go coach the Bears or
but
something.
I'm just saying, to me the movement would in that mind in that I mean you're already hearing the names out there like Matt Nagy. I mean
Right.
Arthur Smith. Like who like you look at these teams and then you throw John Harbaugh in that mix, regardless of how Ravens fans feel about him right now. That would probably be the move. Would be not to fire him. It would be to trade him. And whatever you get, I don't know what the exact. It'd be something attractive. But we'll see. I mean, honestly, I'm not ready. My individually for my well-being as someone who does this for a living, I'm not ready to have that conversation yet. I'm not ready for this season to be over, final nail in the coffin. You're 1-7 or 1-6. They've got to win Sunday. I mean, it's just that simple. It's must win. It absolutely is must win. You don't hear me say that very often. Like even late in the year, you rarely ever. It's must win on Sunday because at some point in time, we can keep projecting out and looking at the future schedule and is this guy healthy or this guy's healthy? Can you make this trade or that trade? Like, you go win a football game. You haven't won a football game since September 14th. Go win a football game. And then we can start talking in those terms. But until you do that, hey, the Bears are going to come in with, they're going to smell blood in the water. I mean, they're better. I don't think they're great by any stretch, but you've got to go play good football on Sunday, Lamar or not. Like, I mean, Lamar on the field, like you still need to go play and you need to play at a high level and got to do the things that you haven't been doing as a football team to go get a win. Do that. You're 2-5. All right. We can start talking in those terms more, but have to win on Sunday. You just have to. I mean, it's non-negotiable at this point. Just period. Have to win.
Give John my regards this week. Luke Jones will be out in Owings Mills. They allow him, because he's a nice guy, out in the building. He will be out covering the 1-5 Ravens in what will be a short week next week against the Miami Dolphins. Chicago Bears coming into town. And World Series baseball ahead as well. Luke and I have been watching the magic of Shohei Ohtani. I can't wait to talk baseball with you, man. I mean, when I was watching that over the weekend, I'm like, hey, Luke and I are going to talk about this at some point. So we're going to talk some baseball. We will have a World Series together as we speak now. Game 7. We'll zip it up. We'll lay low and we'll watch a Game 7 and we'll get ready for World Series action. I know one thing, the Dodgers will be waiting on the other side. We got plenty of football ahead this week. We have the Maryland Crab Cake Tour back out on the road. I will be at Costas on Wednesday with the Maryland Lottery scratch-off tickets. My big appreciation to my friends at Curio Wellness. Wendy Bronfine joined us last week as well. I've been eating my face off. The tastiness stuff is all out. I ate so much like in August with my favorite foods that I haven't and I traveled a little bit in September, so I haven't been out for like a Chat's Fit Beef sandwich. I haven't been out for my favorite donut at the Pennsylvania Dutch market. I haven't had any Jamaican food since last time I was at the Jerk Hut. So my favorite place to eat, all up at Tastiness. It's all in the front of Baltimore Positive. All of Luke's work's on the right side. All of my work's on the left side. I called John Harbaugh a fraud this week, and I stand behind those words. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570. Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking. Baltimore Positive when they let us.